Hello, hello. Welcome to the channel. Joining me today is Annie. I know everyone, you're going to love her and her awesome personality. And especially, I know her story is going to be very inspirational. So if you're catching the replay, so glad that you're here. I know people are going to start trickling in. We just went live. Use the like button, participate in the comments, let us know what questions you have. Annie, there's so much to your story. There's so much we could dig into, but I want to focus on your where like the role money has played throughout your journey and how that's kind of transformed over time and how you've noticed that being true for other people who have experienced some pretty severe trauma. So take us back. What are some of your earliest memories related to money? And like, how did they shape you initially?
Oh, I love this. So I don't know if y'all saw my Instagram, but on Hookers for Jesus Instagram, I did one of my attractions to my ex-trafficker, and it was a bankroll. Okay,
Mm,
so how does that happen to a teenager? Very simply, when you're raised in a home that money is very hard earned. My dad and my mom both worked full time. Even well, when I was very little, my mom didn't, but when I was about 5, she got a job, and we would get $1 allowance a week. But Amanda, for that dollar, we had to rake the lawn, you know, mow the lawn. And again, this was in the 70s, and it was like 1973 or 72. I'm so dating myself. But the American dream back then was kind of shifting a little, where fathers just didn't work anymore. It was the 70s, it was
yeah.
women's lib. And so my mom got a job, and yeah, that's not bad. I mean, but the whole thing was is that us kids, I had a sister and two brothers, we never had usually brand new clothes. We always had garage sale or church basement clothes that people would feel sorry for you and give. We actually during lunch hours, not in all the schools I went to, but several times we had to get paid lunches by the state, the welfare system.
Yeah.
And then we had government cheese. If anyone remembers government cheese, if it's still out there, it comes in these long bricks, it's like it melts the best, by the way. Like, it's the best cheese ever. It's like
Mm,
Velveeta but better. And so I remember those things, and I just always was wanting more. Like, I remember my best girlfriend, Michelle, next door, they could have Doritos just came out when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, and maybe they were out and I just didn't know about it. But they had Oreos and they had Doritos and they had Pepsi and Coca Cola. We weren't allowed that in my family because one thing, my mom and dad didn't want us to have junk food, which I believe was good. But our family could not afford. They could not afford labeled food like that.
mm,
And my parents were very concerned about diabetes for us kids, so that was actually a blessing. So as I got older, I started making my own clothes in grade school and high school. I started sewing, not grade school, I'm sorry, junior high. And I started babysitting. I learned how to make money. I had like 3 or 4 different babysitting jobs. I would ask Mama, can I do anything extra around the house? And I would use that money to purchase my own clothing, because in high school, y'all know what it is in junior high. If you don't have cool clothes, I think it's probably still the same way today. You are considered, like, I don't know, like a loser. In our school, it was considered a dirtball. So
mm.
I ended up, growing up as a teenager, always needing more. And I wanted to go to college, and that drove me, and this is where the trafficking comes in, that drove me to pursue money as my career. So I got a corporate job when I was 18. I got 2 other jobs. I worked at a Japanese restaurant at night, and on the weekend, DeLuno's Pizza, best pizza in Minneapolis. You ever go there, go on Lake Street, it's still there. And I'm telling you, I started stacking my money, but I got my own apartment and I had my own car, but I had to have roommates. And so when I started going out some nightclubs with my friend, we met these 2 guys. And again, I still wanted to go to college, Amanda. I wanted to go to art school. I still would love to take an art class. I've never done it. And I would love to do music because I like to sing and I can play the keyboard and the piano. But anyway, all that to say, they came in. showed us their money bankroll, and we were like so enamored by that. And my girlfriend takes off with one of the guys to Hawaii. He starts dating her. They get engaged. We didn't know it. He was an undercover trafficker. The guy that wanted to talk to me was also as well, but I didn't like him. But I learned how to sell myself in Hawaii on vacation when I was a teenager. Came back to Minnesota, quit my jobs, started working escort services. If anyone doesn't know what that is, that it's a service that you call. Used to be the Yellow Pages. They still have them in there as entertainment. But now online, you can just look up anyone you want. And man can just order a woman like a pizza, right? And so I started doing that. Didn't have a pimp, didn't have a trafficker, kept all my own money. And I eventually met this man. I started stripping at a nightclub. And I met him and I fell in love with him, and I didn't know it, but he was an undercover trafficker, super good looking. He had a bankroll. I was attracted to his money. I went to Las Vegas with him. The first night that I worked in Las Vegas, he beat me down to unrecognizable face. I looked like a monster. I looked like Frankenstein. I really did. Both my eyes were sunken and black. I mean, choke marks all over. It was awful, like the worst thing. And he told me he was my pimp, and that this was the rule. So Amanda, pretty much for the next 10 years, I was stuck with two different pimps. They got every single dollar from me. And I tell you, when I say millions of dollars went through my hands, yes.
Yeah.
When I look back and I realize how much I made. And then I left, and I actually, overdosed, and I cried out to Jesus. And I'm going to tell you something. For the first time in my life, I felt peace and love and forgiveness. The shame went away. The guilt went away. And I knew that I got a second chance. So how does money look after I surrendered my life? So that was a challenge. I literally was making $10 an hour for a long time and $8 an hour. I had two jobs. The good thing is that I knew in my deep heart that God was watching over me, and that there's one day that I decided to quit one of my jobs, and one of the jobs actually shut down because it got closed because of finances, and it was an automotive company. I heard a voice in my head, and I believe it was the Holy Spirit. I had $7 in my bank account, and the Holy Spirit said, I want you to start a nonprofit. I was like, what? What? No, what are you talking about? Like, help the girls like you, Annie. Help the women that think money is their God, that think a man is their God, that think being abused is their God. And I was like, okay, so I did. That's when Hookers for Jesus was formed. Started bringing the girls to church. People just started donating, providing. I didn't get a salary probably the first, oh my goodness, almost the first like 8 years, nothing. And then I started taking a salary. As a CEO, I make more than $8 an hour now.
Good for you. Good.
I'm married. I have a wonderful husband. He's in a band called Striper. And you know what? God is providing.
Yeah.
Nonprofit work is very, very tricky
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the financial market, because as the finances go, so does your nonprofit. So if the Dow industry is down, your nonprofit sometimes isn't going to make enough donations. But what's really crazy about this, Amanda, that I love to encourage people about, give them hope, is the fact that during the pandemic, during the times where everyone's doing terrible, God provides. It's a total miracle. And I'm being honest. And you know what? Actually, we just signed a lease for a new house called the Dream House for our second transitional home.
Oh, I've got to hear all kinds of things. I have so many questions. Before we do that, I need to hear about this mug.
Oh, this mug is I Am Second. Now, I did a video with I Am Second. And what this means is I want everyone to go after you're done with this video, go look up I Am Second on YouTube. You will see my video and my full story, because Amanda probably can't do my full story. It will take a couple days to tell. But go look up I Am Second. The meaning of I Am Second is simply this. I am second and God is first in my heart. Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah. And there's like over 100 videos and tons of stories, and very famous people are on there. I have no idea how I got picked to be on there, but they love me and we love them. So, but anyway, yeah, you were asking me, you said you had a lot of questions. So go ahead and shoot.
Okay. So I've been kind of following and supporting anti-human trafficking work for over a decade. I love um, all the amazing work that's happening all over the US and the world, and have good friends that are like leading nonprofits that do this. And my like imagination when so like as you were starting your story, I could hear people who kind of believe what I call a myth that money is evil, being like, yeah, look, money was evil. It drove her into, blah, blah, blah. And I want to be just like, no, that's not how it works. Right. We could talk about how money is a tool and how it's used, like, is different depending on the person behind it, their motivation.
Right.
But
Right.
also, like, that's not really what would have driven you into that life or into, the position you ended up being in. It really is the greed of men and the horrible things that they do to women, and it's not
Yep.
your fault at all. It's not
Well,
money's fault. It's the Johns and the pimps and all of that. So I wanted to make
yes.
sure I so many people believe so many myths about money, but they also believe a lot of myths about the sex industry and what's going on there. And it's really legitimately human trafficking. And I wanted to just make sure we put that out
It
there for the
is.
world to
It
hear because
is.
that can't be said enough.
And even though I entered it on my own decision in the beginning, but poverty drove me that lack of the lack
Mhm.
of education that I wanted, the lack of, the nice clothing. And it's not just
Yeah.
nice, just a new pair of pants and a new pair of underwear. I mean, come on. Who does
Right.
not want that?
Yeah.
So, yes, it's when we make it our idol, when we make it the main thing of everything, it is totally corrupt when we do that. And we
Mhm.
don't have any centering in our heart of why we do what we do and why our careers are the way that they are. If we're doing it for money, our career is never going to be the career we really were designed to have. God has designed us for a specific area in every single place in space in our world. And it is just like a tapestry, a puzzle piece, if you want to think about it like that. We have a design purpose that is so specific. And once we fit into that, it's kind of like a light bulb. You screw the light bulb in, and it goes off and it turns on, and you are the
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
And so, money is definitely a tool. And if we can get money to be put in the right places, right, we are going to be able to change the world for the good. And there is lack of a lot of things, lack of love, and lack poverty causes sometimes a lack of love because
Oh,
both parents have to work. I mean, so the kids don't get the attention they need. They feel abandoned, even though that's not the truth, because the parents are just trying to provide, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
is money evil? No, it's
Yeah.
the system behind it and the people controlling it. And I tell you what, the bankers and all that, there's good banks and bad banks. And we all know the bad players and the bad hats, right? The black
Mhm.
hats. So we know that it can seriously be corruptive. But what we have to do is make a decision. Are we going to use it, like you said, Amanda, as a tool? Are we going to invest in gold? I mean, because that's what I'd like to do, and coin and things like that, and not put our trust in the paper.
Mhm.
They can print paper all day long and create inflation through the roof, and we know that that's not good. But if we have, land, housing, coin, that is real ownership. Precious metals, oil, right? Those are things that are being able to not be inflated because of the paper. So anyway, I'm
Mhm.
going into a different realm right now, but
No, like, but it sounds like you've, um, like, had some kind of transformation of how you view money, and from learning a little bit more about your organization, I know that you help the women who are being served by your nonprofit heal in so many ways, but including their relationship with money. I There's all kinds of, trauma or just even, like wrong mindsets that all of us kind of bring in our relationship with money. What would you say about how someone could, find that healing, find that way to see money as a tool that could be used to do some really great stuff in the world, like you do with your nonprofit?
well, this is one of the best things I believe is that for advice for that is to uh, really think about what the money could do for you and what it did for you in the negative sense, but also write down the pros and cons. What if I saved? What if I put money away for retirement? What if I put money towards a good cause and got a write off with a nonprofit? Also, we give our girls the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University and another course that we also coach them with as they learn about money and what your money can actually use to do as a tool for you. Because if we continue to label, and I tell this to the ladies, if you label the money as bad, you're missing the entire point. The motivation behind the push of each dollar is inherently evil if it's the wrong motivation. But if it's the right motivation, pretty much you can change the world. Okay. And
Yeah.
to me, the best currency, this is personal for me, is a heart of love.
Mhm.
And when you love people, you give. You're generous. You want to start a nonprofit like I did. You want to start a business that serves people, even if it is a for profit, right? You want to take the money that you're given in your hand, even if it's $1 or five or $5,000, and you want to turn that into something that's multiplied for the greater good. So if you could look at money that way, to me, that personally healed my heart when I understood that money wasn't the evil part. It was my personal desire that got corrupted. And by the way, I was sexually abused as well and bullied in school. And so
Mm.
before the trafficking happens, there's not just the money issue. That's one of the combo issues. It's multifaceted reasons and pushes towards trafficking that add to the sum of sex trafficking in my personal life. And by the
Yeah.
way, yes, I've written a book and it's in Spanish and in English.
Nice.
And it's also in audio. You can just go on Amazon and get it, but it's fallen out of the sex industry and into the arms of the savior. And actually, this reads like a movie. You will not be able to put it down. It takes about 6 hours to read. So get your cup of coffee. And if you're going to try to read it in the morning before you go to work, I don't advise that. So, that the thing is that the reason why I named it Fallen is because that was my name as a worker in the sex industry. And I
Mhm.
don't really like to call it worker because I was a victim of trafficking in the long run.
Yeah.
And that's, all of us as human beings, we fall. But you know what? God picks us back up when we're willing for Him to do that. And some of us want to just stay stuck. And I want to speak to everyone out there that feels like, well, I've been abused and I can't seem to handle my finances. You know what? Right now, there's a reason why you're watching this. There's a reason why you're listening to this because God has a specific plan just for you and your finances. And I believe when you start really, you just need to pray. I mean, I don't know if anyone's a believer out there, but ask God, what do you want me to do with this money I'm earning? Or if you don't have a job, ask God to direct you to the right place to work. They claim there's a lot of jobs out there right now. In fact, we're hiring at Hookers for Jesus and Destiny House and Dream House, all three places. Okay. So
Yeah.
there's jobs out there. You have to look.
Mhm.
And, you know, as far as the government taking care of us and staying home 24/7, not a good model. We know that's happened in other countries. It does not result in utopia. I don't know about you,
Mhm.
Amanda, but nope.
Nope.
Let's
I'm a little bit of a workaholic myself, so I can't imagine.
Yes, I'm type
Yeah.
A, and yes, I am too. And
Yeah.
you know what? It's okay. But we have to balance ourselves, don't we? Because burnout can happen very easy for us.
Yep.
I like to
Yep.
work because I know when I work, I'm serving. And when I'm serving,
Yeah.
I'm helping another human being get to where they need to go in their
Yep.
life and their God
Absolutely.
given destinies.
Yeah.
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 So,
So if I were to reflect back what you said and kind of what I'm taking from the conversation, it's like I'm also a follower of an awesome man named Jesus, and I definitely believe he has things for me to do with my life. I and to do those things, I'm going to be able to do them more effectively if I have some money than if I'm always just scraping by, never
hey,
saving for the future, all those things. So while I don't necessarily believe in like the prosperity gospel, it's more of that kind of thing of there, what God's called you to, He'll provide for, and that we can have that kind of a more effectiveness when we're leaning on that provision, being active, and it's 100% God, 100% us, like that kind of stuff,
Right?
and letting I it sounds like maybe I might be putting words in your mouth, but did some of that come from actually like listening to the Holy Spirit, following God, not trying to just change your view of money on your own?
You know what? I remember Jesus saying, "Go fish and get the coin out of the fish's mouth,
Yeah.
the gold
Yeah.
coin." And it
Yeah.
really made me think about that person was puzzled. And he said the answer's in the fish. I mean, even though that was just a scenario,
Mhm.
it just showed that God provides. Think about the fish and the loaves. Like, God is our provider. There was no money involved in that transaction. So, like I said,
Yeah.
money is not necessarily a physical object. It's
Right.
what's your intentions? What do you want to do with yourself? What do you want to give back to the community? What do you want to give back as a form of loving and serving? Because God, and I say this in the, I hope in the right context, but that God will reward you for your service. Even if it's not in this lifetime, he will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant," when you get to see him in the glory realm, when you're actually
Yep.
not in your body anymore. So it's AKA heaven, right?
Mhm.
So I really want people to understand that pursuing money is not evil. Because if you're pursuing it for the right purpose, okay, and you're keeping
Yep.
that purpose before the pursuing, and that is your goal. Hey, my goal is to feed 100,000 homeless, or my goal is to open up 100 destiny houses across the world. You need money to do that,
Mhm.
okay? And it says the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. We all know. And Jesus said that I came that you might have life, live it to the full, and till it overflows. And I believe that even with the disciples and the apostles that followed Jesus, that they were always provided for. Now, why
Yep.
did Jesus have a treasurer if they were broke all the time? No.
Right.
In fact, the poor guy, I mean, he got corrupted with that money. You know,
Mhm.
human trafficking is very much tied in slavery. And because think about it, Judas trafficked Jesus's life. He did. He sold him for 30 pieces of silver. He
Mm.
trafficked Jesus Christ. So I believe that money can be used for that evil purpose, but you just got to get your heart right. And
Yep.
if Judas could turn it around and he could do it again, he might not have done it. And some people will argue with you. Theologians might argue with me about that, because then they said, well, Jesus would have never been crucified. But we don't know. We don't know how he would have been crucified. It might have been a different type of betrayal. It might have
Mm.
looked a lot different. You know what I mean by that?
Right. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
we had to learn from that lesson that everywhere in the midst of us, there is a Judas looking to take you down and sell you out.
Mm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
watch your backs, everybody. Pray.
Okay. Yes. And, if I can give a plug, it would be sometimes our hearts follow what we physically do. And if anybody's looking for a physical way to move your money in line with some really good work, hookersforjesus.net is the place to go and give a donation, help support the work and the amazing stuff that Annie's doing. Annie, if people go there and give a donation, what's it going to help you accomplish?
Oh my gosh. So right now we are trying to do a fund drive for our clients counseling. We do not have any funds. It's about $3,000 a month. So we need like people to step up and be a even just a once a month donor. Maybe they can donate $20. It goes towards each session is about 100 between 80 and $120 depending on the specialty of each counselor. So it's their trauma counseling, and
Yeah.
we really need funds. We need a budget
Mm,
to go through the rest of this 2022 year. So
awesome.
I just thank you so much. Also, don't forget we have on Spotify and Apple as well, but on television in Las Vegas, Tennessee, and Florida, Pink Chair is our little talk show that
Yeah.
I have,
Yeah.
and I just love doing it. And I thank you so much, Amanda, for having me come on your show today. And God bless you. And, may God just rain his finances on you and connections and bring you the right people. And it totally expands what you're doing, because I think what you're doing is amazing.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I
You too.
thank you
Yeah.
for the opportunity today for talking to you and sharing my story.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing so openly. And I'd really appreciate having you here. Everybody, before you go off into another video on YouTube, go support Annie and her work. Give this video a thumbs up. Go check out the name of that YouTube channel is I Am Second.
Yes, I am second. Correct.
Okay. That's
Yes.
recommended next video. Okay. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Annie.
All right. God bless you, Amanda.